Good morning, everyone. How's it going out there? Welcome back here to a Tuesday, the second day of December here, 2025. 10:43 in the a.m. across California here. Latest activity on the globe shows a 1.8 across Alaska. A little bit of newer movement happening up here across the Kuril-Kamchatka and the towards the Japan Trench. A number of fives, and including a number of fours up there around where that 8.8 struck here back in July. Seen a slight uptick. Also across the Java Trench, we're getting some little bit of uptick going on there as well. We'll cover earthquake activity here in just a minute. First, I want to talk about this massive sunspot area on the sun that's drawing a lot of attention. It's actually a couple different sunspots here clustered as a group, and that's one of the more larger clusters I've seen here in quite a while. There's definitely some complexity here within the magnetic structure of the sunspots that's worth noting when it comes to the potential here for some stronger flaring. So we got 4296, 4294, and 4298 there in that cluster, along with 4299. That's been the source here of an X flare. And of course, weeks ago, it produced a number of X flares, multiple CMEs at the planet that provided auroras down even into Northern California. And this was weeks ago from this sunspot. It's still very active. We also got another active area out here, so we are looking at a fairly we'll see, maybe eventful week here of solar flare activity. Definitely keeping an eye on that. I may go outside today and see if I can capture an image of the sunspot group with my my zoom cam. I got a solar lens for it. You got to make sure you have that solar lens, otherwise it will completely damage that sensor there on any camera. But might be able to, I would say I'd definitely be able to pick it up. And this may be even viewable with a pair of solar sunglasses. You know, the kind that you look at the eclipse with. Got to make sure you have the proper ones to look at the sun, but that definitely visible. So the flare threat right now still remains elevated, about 30% chance or so. M flare around 70% chance. We've been sizzling here with a bunch of C flare activity. Our last X flare, almost 2 days ago now. But again, this can pop at any time. It's lining up, getting a little bit more in position here to be Earth-centered or facing the Earth directly. We'll watch this here this week. Aurora activity, it looks like they still have that G2 class storm here on the map, or the graph here. Tomorrow night, G1 class storm, but it could peak up around the G2 class storm category. This is from a coronal hole that's been facing us, and we're going to be getting the results there of the high-speed solar wind stream. Earth in the green, sun in the yellow. Here's that high-speed solar wind stream. It gets enhanced right there. Little help there from that massive CME from the X flare here a couple days ago. It doesn't look like much. These guys are showing a heavy, well, not even a super heavy. This is just kind of a minor to moderate density here in plasma. Not a whole lot of solar wind speed picking up, but there is a little dense shot here that's enhancing that high-speed solar wind stream. But I don't expect much here, folks. These guys are showing a G2 class storm. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near that, just looking at this model here. But we'll see what happens. And that's going to be for tomorrow night, and maybe late tomorrow night. We'll have to check back on that. But nothing near term, not anything for tonight. This is going to be on the 3rd UTC time at 2100. And the UTC time right now is the 2nd at 1845. So we got tomorrow night or so, and maybe it could last till the morning. We'll see. All right, back to earthquake activity. Checking out the west coast out here. There's a couple earthquakes up there around the Mount St. Helens area being listed up on the map. Nothing big. I was just checking out the graphs there. There's no uptick going on there across the volcanoes for now. Otherwise, you know me, I would definitely be pointing that out. We got some movement there across Northern California from yesterday. It was kicking up out here. In fact, the Cascadia tremor events there quite amplified underneath the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. Watching that closely. No new quakes out there to report for now. There across the Bay Area, still getting some movement on a couple different fault systems out here. After all the swarms that we've seen here in the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so, still want to be on guard for some movement out here. when things get moving, as far as these clusters going on, that's a good time to be prepared. Of course, any time is a good time to be prepared out here across the Bay Area. As we know, it's definitely can happen at any time. But I tend to agree more on the side of it happening when we're seeing uptick. Because remember, these little earthquakes do nothing in terms of relieving strain. If anything, it's a for sure sign that things are increasing in pressure out there. There's that 1.5 here in the last hour. That's towards the Calaveras Fault Zone. This is where they've had a little bit of swarming going on, which is, well, actually, it's north there of that swarming area. So it's right in the middle point boundary between two little swarms. Well, two decent swarms. I can't say little, because these are pretty decent swarms up there. Northern end, the Calaveras Fault Zone. Southern end. Now we're getting the middle picked out here. This could pop at any second. The Hayward Fault. You name it. There's a number of faults out there that are capable of producing some big earthquakes. Southern California, pretty amplified out here across this area. This is the Garlock Fault Shear Zone. It's a mountain range down here that kind of runs opposite of what you would normally expect out here across the plate boundary, right? With the plate boundary moving from, in general, northwest to southeast here. But this is a shear zone here where a lot of strain builds up, and it kind of acts as a spring. And this is pretty active out here today. Definitely more active than normal, and it's noticeable. I'm sure you guys can see the pattern out here stretching all across the Garlock Fault Shear Zone. That tells me that it's enhancing the pressure out here right now. We're seeing that increasing pressure along the San Andreas Fault, pushing up there on that shear zone, and that's why we're seeing a lot of elevated activity out here. Nothing big, but man, it's it's right. You could see it easily out there. Normally it doesn't look like this, so very active across the Garlock Fault Shear Zone. Watch the San Andreas Fault. Couple earthquakes out here near the San Bernardino Mountains as well. Some of those from yesterday, a handful more today down there as well. Nothing above 2.5. All small microquake activity out here today, but a noticeable pattern up here. Yellowstone National Park, couple earthquakes there from yesterday. Nothing new. I was just looking at that, and I'll show you guys just real quick. The Yellowstone seismograph stations here. If they'll load, there we go. As you can see, there's a couple of those earthquakes there from yesterday about this time. Very small quakes in the mid-1 range. Since then, not a whole lot going on. There's, let's see, what was that, about 1 o'clock in the morning? It looks like some earthquake activity. Let's see if it'll show up on this one. Wow, they've that one's completely squashed. Did they mess with that? They did. It looks like they adjusted the amplitudes here. You can't even see any of those earthquakes there from yesterday. So they recently did something to that seismograph station. This one's offline. That one's offline. I don't like that. I don't like when they tamper with stuff. I mean, I can't say tampering, right? Because it's their equipment. But it's also mine and yours, too. We're taxpayers. I'm a big fan of transparency. I don't like it when things get squashed like that. It's like having a lot of dark windows, right, in a government building so you can't see what's going on. Not to sound crazy or anything, but hey, just a little odd. There is some earthquake activity out there in that little region I was seeing on another seismograph station, but I'm just trying to pinpoint here exactly where that may be kicking up at. I really wish we had the other stations back online in that simple layout. Let me show you guys here real quick a site I used to use. It's called isthisthingOn.org. It's it almost looks like maybe some of the stations out here, the amplitude's been increased a little bit, but not so much. It doesn't look anything like what it used to. Let's go back here. Mount Sheridan. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. The Maple Creek area where that earthquake activity is occurring yesterday. Well, this is this online? I guess it is online here, but you can't even see the earthquake activity from yesterday up here. I'll show you guys what it used to look like. We can go back here last year, and and it was pretty decent. They had a different type of reading out here, and you can see earthquakes when they show up. You can see wind events. You could see even small microquakes showing up, is a lot better looking. They've recently revised and upgraded. I wouldn't call it an upgrade, but they've revised their whole seismograph station out there for the Yellowstone area. But we'll keep an eye on that. Nothing big showing up. Otherwise, we definitely see it on some of the seismos that are working. Oil field still rocking and rolling. Nothing new out there. It's a daily occurrence out there. Across Oklahoma and Texas, almost 1,000 earthquakes here in the last 30 days. Nothing big for now. Occasionally we can get some upper 4s and 5s out there, but been a couple months since then. Around the New Madrid seismic zone, nothing to report. Eastern portion of the country, a couple more earthquakes in the microquake range. It looks like they added these this morning, even though they're from yesterday. 1.6 and a 1.5 out there across the northeast. So let's take a look here at the earthquake 3D globe. As far as any major uptick goes, there's nothing major going on. I was expecting a huge uptick in earthquake activity in the 6 range, maybe even 7s. In the last 24 hours, we've only had a 5.3 for the largest earthquake, and that's while this massive coronal hole's been facing us. It's actually more positioned over here now, and you can see it on the UV image of the sun. It's kind of pointing away from us now. So that, this might go down as number 2 here, at least recent activity, as far as it not elevating earthquake activity out here. I wouldn't call some 5s out here around your typical daily zones where we get those magnitude 5s. I wouldn't call it an uptick. I wouldn't definitely blame it on the coronal hole that's facing us. Just, kind of keeping a daily track here of all these space weather events and see how it affects the planet in terms of earthquake activity out here. And right now, I'm not seeing it. Yes, we have earthquake activity out there, but man, the plates are always moving. Regions of uptick, and this was yesterday as well, but not because of the coronal hole, just in general stress movement out here across the Middle America Trench. Puerto Rico looks pretty active as well. This Caribbean plate is getting squeezed right now. There's a lot happening around it. That's let's see if I got the map here. It's a little plate out there, Caribbean plate. It has a subduction zone here, and there's another area, Puerto Rico Trench, and there's all sorts of happenings going on around that area, and it's getting squeezed right now. A lot of movement coming up from South America, pushing it right into the North American plate. That's why we're seeing a decent uptick here all around the area right now. Nothing big, but there's some 2s and 3s and pretty good clusters going on, so we'll keep an eye on that. Some older movement there from yesterday underneath Peru. Let's see, Alaska, a little 1.8 up there. Nothing big going on for now. There's a 5-pointer activity from yesterday up along the Aleutian Trench here. The newer activity back across the Kuril-Kamchatka. Nothing on the Nankai Trough yet. But got that strain building up out here. There's a pretty deep earthquake there. It looks like around the Manila Trench. Is this going to be this one? Yes. Underneath Manila, but I'm sure it's got to do with the subduction zones around the area. 4.4, 120 miles deep. Goodness. So keep an eye there for some surface adjustment. Those deeper quakes normally add quite a bit of strain and stress up at the towards the locked area of these subduction zones and plate boundaries out here. There's a where's that? That's a 5.1 out here off the coast of Sumatra. Let's see, is that going to be an aftershock there? That actually looks a little bit deeper, 5.1. We had a 6-pointer back here, 6.6 to be exact, back on the 26th. That one was a little bit further north, though. Getting a pretty good cluster of activity out here. Again, the latest one going to be somewhat deep there into the northern end of the Java Trench. This is where a 9-pointer struck back in 2004. Produced a big old tsunami out there, the Indian Ocean tsunami. That was a big deal. But it's getting a pretty good cluster around that area right now. Definitely keep an eye on that. It's a major builder of stress out there. If you look at the general pattern out here across this area, Kind of goes up this way. It's kind of hard to see here. I guess we could, doesn't really cover it that much. But it's up over here around Sumatra area. Got easily 60, 70 mm per year. Pretty decent accumulated slip rate up there. Maybe higher in certain areas, but it's one of those zones that doesn't take a whole lot of time to build up strain. 3.6 up there in the looks like the Burma area. So yeah, a little bit of movement happening around this area over the last few days there, or last couple days. Pretty decent uptick across the Himalayas and into the northern India area. Nothing big, but a handful of 4 is definitely noticeable. Mediterranean and the Middle East area, fairly quiet. I mean, there's some 2s and 3s, nothing big. I don't see any major uptick going on. We did have another earthquake out there in the Atlantic, Mid-Atlantic Ridge. There's another one up there. Looks like a 5.2 late last night. Or no, excuse me. Yeah, I guess that was 5.2 late last night. Same area as the previous one there a couple hours earlier. New Zealand, nothing really going on at 3.2. It never really moved like I was expecting it to. We had a decent amount of swarming up north and south, and over here along this area of the plate boundary. Normally put a lot of strain out there. No, there's definitely some strain, but we did not see any earthquake activity. And not much going on at Hawaii right now. Yes, there's still a handful of earthquakes there from yesterday. Nothing new. 2.4 off the western side here of the Big Island. Let's see, anything else major going on here? I mean, it's just a daily. This is pretty much your daily amount of earthquake activity. It was certain zones seeing a little bit of uptick out here, but again, I don't think it's because of that coronal hole. I mean, this can happen on any given day. Let's check out the next close approach asteroids to the planet, see if they've updated these yet, which they haven't. Interesting. This is still from, wow, quite a few days ago. I wonder what's going on there at NASA, because they're definitely not updating. All right, well, let's skip over that for now. Nothing major for severe weather. In fact, it looks pretty quiet out there. And I wish I could say we were going to get some active weather out here across California, but we're not. It's not looking good out here. A lot of cold air coming down from Canada for the country, the rest of the country out here, aside from Northern California. Pacific Northwest going to get hammered with a bunch of rain up there. Well, maybe. Oh, man, I hope this holds true. Looks like maybe a little change here to California, about the 13th or so. I'm hoping that holds true because we need it. It was pretty wet November. Yes, it was, but and cold. You can see where the valley here in the last week, the Sacramento Valley was well below average because we were just locked in with that fog. It never really broke in the afternoon, so it kept temperatures in the 40s. Otherwise, we'd probably be up in the 70s had we not had fog. As you can see, it was all across the West Coast as far as above temperatures go, but the Sacramento Valley and San Joaquin Valley here, so pretty crazy. As far as any precipitation anomalies out here, this is the last 7 days. Yeah, we're starting to look a little dry out here. So we definitely need some rain out here across the West Coast. As you can see, the averages out there are way down there. November was somewhat decent there if we go back the last month, but the last 7 days here, there hasn't really been anything aside from that fog a little bit, which kind of kept things moist, but, that's not rainfall. What have we got? Another earthquake up here since I've been yakking on the channel here. In the last 4 minutes, a 1.6 up there around the Green Valley fault zone. Man, I'm telling you, I still think something out here is in the works. And it has been. It's been in the works here for quite a while as far as a big earthquake goes, but definitely showing quite a bit of signs out here. A lot of stress and strain quakes being produced across a number of fault systems. So continue to keep an eye there on the Bay Area as it still looks pretty active today. As far as the seismograph stations go, pretty quiet out there. Not so much showing up on the live seismos. Looks pretty quiet out there. Why do I have 100 different stations of ANZA up here? What is going on here? Some of those are offline, but hopefully they come back. They should. Aside from that, folks, sunny, and I think we're supposed to be in the mid-50s today. I mean, it's not too bad. At least it's not 100 degrees out here. I'd rather have rainfall. This is when we're supposed to have rainfall. We're not supposed to be sunny and clear for weeks. We're getting further and further behind in our rainy season. We need to get some rain out here. Alrighty, have yourself a wonderful day, folks, and we will see you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening, unless something major happens out here. Of course, then we'll jump back in here. Make sure to subscribe while you're here, and we'll see you guys out here a little bit later on. Take care.